Hello, my name's Roger Stevens and I'm a poet and author and I like devising quizzes. And so I've devised this one. It's called the Roger Stevens A to Z Book Quiz. So it's a book quiz. The answers are all favourite books of mine or books or authors that have inspired me or been influential in my career. So obviously if you know me, that might give you a little bit of an advantage. Mind you, my wife Jill, she only got about 2/3 of them right and she knows me very well. So I think it is a little bit tricky, but have a go. Now, you can play it on your own, you can play it competitively with somebody, as a team. You can play it as a team, pool your answers together, use it in your book group, however you want really. It's just there for a bit of fun if you like books. Now, the book titles in the answers, I'm going to discount the word the. So the book titles, it will be the first word of the rest of the title, will be the letter. And authors, it will, unless I say otherwise, it will be the surname that we're looking for, the author's last name. Okay, so I'm going to go through it quite quickly. So you'll need to pause it, I expect, after some of the questions, just to have a think. You can take as long as you like, so just be ready to pause it while you think of the answer. You need a pen or a pencil or paper. You need to write the answers down. So you can pause this now if you like while you get all your stuff together. The actual quiz takes about 10 minutes. The answers take roughly the same. Okay, there are 26 questions, 1 point for each question, A to Z. Here we go. A. This book begins with an A. I'm going to read you the opening line. She was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, she thought, without pictures or conversations? B. So the second question, the answer begins with a B. Kate Atkinson's fourth novel, Case Histories, introduces her private investigator. What is his name? I want the name of Kate Atkinson's private investigator. Starts with a B. Okay, C. He was the US Poet Laureate from 2001 to 2003, and his books include The Trouble with Poetry, Taking Off Emily Dickinson's Clothes, and The Apple That Astonished Paris. D. What is the name usually given to Susan Cooper's 5-book children's fantasy series? What is the name usually given to Susan Cooper's 5-book children's fantasy series? E. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1948, the year I was born. His poems include Burnt Norton, East Coker, The Dry Salvages, and Little Gidding. So the author who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1948. Poems include Burnt Norton, East Coker, The Dry Salvages, and Little Gidding. F. The name of a book beginning with F. I'm going to read you the opening sentence. Away, alone, alast, alove, along, the river run, past even Adams, from a swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious ficus of recirculation back to Howth Castle and environs. I'm not actually sure if that's all of the opening sentence. The sentence might even be longer. Anyway, that's F. G. I'm looking for the collective name of Mervyn Peake's fantasy series. That's the name of Mervyn Peake's fantasy series. H. When I discovered this author in my late teens, I read everything I could by him, except for one book, which I found challenging. And that book is The Glass Bead Game. So I'm looking for the author who wrote The Glass Bead Game. I kept 3 halfpennies in a small envelope in the cover of this book. I kept 3 halfpennies in a small envelope in the cover of this book. J. Another opening to a book. I need the book begins with a J. It was 7 o'clock of a very warm evening in the Seone Hills when Father Wolf woke up from his day's rest, scratched himself, yawned, and spread out his paws, one after the other, to get rid of the sleepy feeling in their tips. That was J. Now we have K. He wrote Do Androids Dream Electric Sheep, which was turned into the film Blade Runner. He wrote the short story Minority Report, which was turned into a film starring Tom Cruise. Now this time we're going for the middle name. The author's middle name is the K. So, what is the name of the author? His middle name starts with a K. Al. This was my favourite book in my 20s. Characters in the book include Tom Bombadil, Mary Brandybuck and Boromir. A book with the characters Tom Bombadil, Mary Brandybuck and Boromir. M. Probably my favourite poet. His first book was written with Brian Patten and Adrian Henry, and a huge source of inspiration for me. I could do with the name of the book, which starts with an M, but also the name of the poet also starts with an M. N. An American science fiction writer. He wrote the Ringworld series. That's Ringworld. The Ringworld series. I need the name of the author. O. He wrote The Road to Wigan Pier. He wrote The Road to Wigan Pier. Okay, we're on P. P. I'm looking for the author. He wrote a series of books about a flat planet balanced on the backs of 4 elephants, which in turn stand on the back of a giant turtle. He wrote a series of books about a flat planet balanced on the backs of 4 elephants, which in turn stand on the back of a giant turtle. Q. I'm looking for the name of a game. This game has 7 players on each team, and the players are 3 chasers, 1 keeper, 2 beaters and 1 seeker. So we're looking for a game. It's played with 4 balls. A game beginning with Q. R. I like the name of the author of the Inspector Wexford books. The author of the Inspector Wexford books. So we're on S. This book, beginning with S, was first published in 1961. It's a collection of essays and lectures by John Cage. The book's title is after his most famous piece of music. So the book is a collection of essays and lectures by John Cage, named after his most famous piece of music. T. I'm looking for the name of Flann O'Brien's darkly comic, absurdist meditation on the meaning of life and death and the nature of human experience. It's set mainly in a police station and concerns itself with bicycles. So the name of Flann O'Brien's absurdist novel. U. In which you will find Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard, Captain Cat, Organ Morgan and Polly Garter pining for her dead lover. The book in which you will find Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard, Captain Cat, Organ Morgan and Polly Garter pining for her dead lover. V. His books include the story of a World War II spy being tried as a Nazi war criminal, a Martian invasion of the Earth, and the firebombing of Dresden. His books include the story of a World War II spy being tried as a Nazi war criminal, a Martian invasion of the Earth, and the firebombing of Dresden. W. This author's books include Vile Bodies and Scoop. This author's books include Vile Bodies and Scoop. X. The unauthorised autobiography of a rock star, written by the rock star himself. The unauthorised autobiography of a rock star, written by the rock star himself. Y. I'm looking for the protagonist of Joseph Heller's Catch-22. The protagonist of Joseph Heller's Catch-22. And the last question, Z. The author of the Chronicles of Amber. His first book, the first book in this series, is called 9 Princes in Amber. It's the Amber books, the name of the author. There we are then. So I would pause this, collect your thoughts, get all your bits and pieces together, and I'll be along any moment with the answers. Okay, here are the answers. I wonder how well you did. I hope, as you can hear, I'm very, very coldy, so I hope that you've been able to hear this okay. It's affecting my pronunciation a little bit. Okay, here we go. Answers. A is for Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. B is for Jackson Brodie. Jackson Brodie, that's B-R-O-D-I-E. Kate Atkinson is one of my favourite writers. I love her detective stories. C, probably my favourite American poet, Billy Collins. Billy Collins if you don't know his work, I should definitely look him out. He's absolutely amazing. I think he's doing a lot at the moment. That we're during the pandemic, where he's doing a live Facebook broadcast every weekday evening. So it'd be worth checking that out. Billy Collins. D. The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. The Dark is Rising. E. T.S. Eliot. That's T.S. Eliot. Bert Norton, The Dry Salvages, East Coker, Little Guinea are from the four quartets. The four quartets. He also wrote The Wasteland and Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats, of course. T.S. Eliot. F. Finnegan's Wake. Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce. We had to read James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man at school, and I didn't get on with that at all. I thought that was just so boring. But Finnegan's Wake is just this massive, amazing thing. I love it. G is for Gormenghast by Mervyn Peake. That's Gormenghast, which is, of course, the name of the castle. It's by Mervyn Peake. I also wanted to fit this book in, Mr. Pye. That would have been a good one to have had in the quiz, but couldn't make that fit. So, H. Hermann Hesse. Hermann Hesse. He wrote Steppenwolf, which is the first book of his I read, which I loved. I think I was a teenager when I read that. The book that we used to consult a lot, and I still have got the copy, and I still look at it from time to time, and you need 3 little coins to consult it. It's the I Ching. The I Ching. A poet that I really, really like, and I love his stories too, and he was my father's favourite writer, is Rudyard Kipling, and that was the beginning of The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book. K for Kindred, which was the middle name of Philip K. Dick. Definitely my favourite science fiction writer. Philip K. Dick. Al, Lord of the Rings. That was quite easy, wasn't it? Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. M, my favourite poet, Roger McGough. He's still around now. Roger McGough. That's it. Half a point for McGough. The book was The Mersey Sound. The Mersey Sound. Half a point for that. N, Larry Niven, Ringworld. He wrote the Ringworld series. Larry Niven, Niven. George Orwell wrote The Road to Wigan Pier. There aren't actually very many authors begin with an O, so you may have guessed him for that reason. But he also wrote, the books that really influenced me, of course, were 1984 and Animal Farm. So that's O for Orwell. P, Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett, fantastic writer. Q, possibly a little bit easy this, but difficult to find a Q to fit. That's J.K.R. Rowling's Harry Potter series, and the game is Quidditch. That's Quidditch. The 4 balls are, of course, a quaffle, 2 bludgers, and 1 snitch. Q for Quidditch. R, Ruth Rendell. That's Ruth Rendell, wrote the Wexford books. There were several other crime writers I would have liked to have sort of fitted in, but I just couldn't make them fit. Raymond Chandler, for example. Agatha Christie, she was a big influence on me as a teenager when I first read a whodunit. Just couldn't believe that the person who did it was there at the beginning of the book. Amazing. But it's Ruth Rendell. Silence is the name of the John Cage book, which I actually have been reading recently. Again, a series of his essays, and it's amazing. Silence. Of course, the piece of work we call Silence, the piece of music, is 4 minutes 33 seconds. But I wanted its popular name of Silence, which of course it isn't. T, the rather weird, basic, very odd book, The Third Policeman. The Third Policeman by Flann O'Brien. U, Under Milk Wood by Dylan Thomas. Under Milk Wood. That's poetry that sounds like poetry, that has a melody and a rhythm and a rhyme. It has everything that people like in poetry. V, Kurt Vonnegut. The Firebombing of Dresden, of course, is Slaughterhouse 5, a very strange book. It interweaves a sort of a comic science fiction element into it. It's an amazing book, Slaughterhouse 5. So it's V for Vonnegut, Kurt Vonnegut. W is Evelyn Waugh. Evelyn Waugh. Again, I could have had several other sort of funny comedic authors, but it's very, very funny books. Evelyn Waugh. The rock musician, singer is Ray Davies. He wrote the book. He called it an unofficial autobiography. And if you got the X part, it was X. Think of a word beginning with an X. There aren't very many. X-Ray is the name of the book. X-Ray. Catch-22, another amazing book. One of those books, if you read it when you're young, you've never read anything like that before. Amazing. And the protagonist is called Yossarian. It's Captain John Yossarian. Yossarian. And Z for Roger Zelazny. Roger Zelazny wrote the Amber series. Roger Zelazny, another of my favourite all-time American science fiction writers from the 60s. There we are. Hope you liked that. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing it. Thanks for staying with me. Do put into the comments below how many you scored or what you thought of it. Be kind. Okay. Bye-bye then. Bye.